I'm Grace, the scheduling coordinator for NJ4S Union Hub, and today we'll be finishing off our October webinar series with our prevention consultant, Bryan Valdez. He will be doing his presentation on breaking the cycle, mental wellness as a tool against bullying. So some information about him. Bryan Valdez is a prevention consultant at Prevention Links, serving the NJ4S Union Hub. He is a recent graduate of Rutgers University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Public Health. Bryan is continuing his education at Rutgers, and he is currently pursuing a Master of Public Health with a concentration in Global Public Health. Previously, Bryan interned with the Prevention Links at the Elizabethport Community Center, where he worked with both youth and senior groups. During his internship, he provided personal guidance and education on topics such as mental health and food security. Bryan wishes to continue providing guidance and education towards others, as that is how he managed to learn about certain topics that are still prominent today. So without further ado, I will now hand it off to Bryan.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the Well Minds and Safe Space, which is part of the mental wellness cycle of ending bullying through mental wellness. So just to start it off, we're going to do like a little icebreaker of color my emotion, which is just share a one-word emotion with a colored. So example, excited can mean yellow or calm can mean green. And since this is a pre-recorded video, I'll say that my color is like blue, so calm. So that's how I'm feeling today. Hopefully you guys are feeling something new. And why is there a focus on mental health? Basically, there's a focus on mental health because bullying is often tied to emotional pain for those who are bullied and who are the bully themselves. And this mainly comes from the mental health of individual, because when a bully is bullying somebody, that means their mental health is not in a good state. Or when somebody is being bullied, their mental health will obviously not be in a good state as well, due to the amount of negative emotions that will be reciprocated to them. So mental health is a good aspect because it focuses on prevention and healing. So when people feel safe, supported, and confident, bullying is less likely to happen. So when a bully comes and you have a group of supporting pillars around you, the bully will less likely to bully that individual because they have the support pillars that they need. And this prevents bullying, also prevents a negative mental health association as well. And then when we focus on healing aspect, focusing on mental wellness helps us recover, feel strong, and move forward after being hurt. So basically, when you have a good mental health standing, you're more likely to recover from any negative emotions, and you can also feel stronger. And you also learn a new experience because it shows how to be more durable in negative situations after feeling hurt. So what is bullying? Bullying is intentional, meaning the person does it to cause harm. As we were talking about before, bullying is also associated with negative emotions. This can mean some personal life in the family household could be negative, which influences that individual to bully another person. To reciprocate the same energy, which it says right here in the definition, to mainly cause harm. It is usually repeated, not a one-time disagreement or argument. So a bully is someone that it also repeats this cycle by targeting a specific person and just repeating the negative connotations of just picking on somebody or just teasing somebody as well. And it usually involves a power imbalance because one person has more power. So as we see there, that person being bullied does not have the support pillars around them, but the bullies have that power of just bullying that person because there's more people that supports the bully. So there's usually a power imbalance when it comes to that. And bullying can also happen in person or online. In person, we see bullying happen in schools and in other type of environmental locations. In schools, it's just a bully just picking on somebody for no apparent reason. It's just like we were talking about, just to cause harm. But online, it can also just to cause teasing and harm as well if somebody's not doing well while playing a video game, or if somebody's posting something on the social media, that person usually does it easier because it's hidden behind a screen, which makes it more easier to be targeted as well. Because when you post something online, um, a numerous amount of people are able to see your posts. So it's important to have a good mental health balance to it as well, because when you're not too confident on what you're posting on social media, it can cause you, it could cause to be more susceptible to the bully and the negative comments. So it's always important to have a good mental, health standing when doing social media. So in bully, there's a lot of roles in the cycle, and we're going to talk about each of the four roles, which can be also changed as well if there's like a change of somebody speaking up or somebody changing the way the roles are played. So we see that bully, they use it, as we were talking about, they use power or aggression to control or harm others. This can be just like, as we were talking about, teasing or saying negative stuff, while the target is the person that's being bullied, who often feels powerless or isolated. As we were talking about, somebody that's a victim of bullying can be isolated, as there's a limited amount of supporting pillars or no supporting pillars, which makes it the power imbalance. And then the bystander, someone who witnesses the bullying happening. So their reaction can stop or fuel the cycle. As I was talking about, one change in this role can change everything. So if the bystander doesn't, fuel the bullying by basically ignoring the bully, and then the whole cycle changes. And then we see the enabler, which is a person who laughs, ignores, or indirectly supports the bullying behavior. So I'll say similar to bystander, but there's one difference. A bystander, we always know that it's someone that just watches. But if these are mainly the two important roles when it comes to changing a bully, the bullying cycle, because if a bystander speaks up, the bully might feel less power, and it doesn't give them the same benefit or reaction that they desire. Same as the enabler. If the enabler just changes to support the victim, it just changes the whole cycle of reducing the bullying from happening. So when there's bullying, there's also a psychological impact. As we see there in that picture, the psychological impact can be the person can feel sad, happy, neutral, or happy. Mainly, most of the victims may feel sad, anxious, or lose their confidence. This can be in school, as I was talking about social media posting or just social media interactions. They probably feel less confident to just sharing their life online. And then bullies may also deal with anger or insecurity. As I was referring to previously back then, some bullies might have some personal issues that might be happening in their home life. So their anger probably could stem from that or some other personal issues. And some bullies also project their insecurities by just, making fun of somebody. So if somebody wears glasses, they're making fun of that person wearing glasses because they're insecure to wear glasses. So there could be some insecurity aspects as well. But mainly the victims and bullies might have long-term effects. So the long-term effects could be emotional scars that can last into adulthood, affecting relationships and self-image. So when we look at the long-term effects, this can be somebody like a victim just having the long-term effect of not wearing glasses if that person's, being bullied for wearing glasses, because that's their self-image. So they're probably just, result to not wear glasses and probably wear contacts. And, that's one of the long-term effects that a victim can experience. There's multiple varieties of self-image and affecting relationships that a victim can feel. And then when we look into bullying affecting relationships, some people in the future might not associate with the bully no more, so it would just affect their friendship relationship as well, because the bully might just say a lot of negative stuff, and the other person in that relationship or friendship might just doesn't want to associate with that because it's too negative for them, and they want to change to be a more positive person. So there's a lot of psychological impact when we look at this. So this whole presentation is about mental wellness. What is mental wellness? Well, mental wellness is feeling balance in thoughts and emotion. So this means like just handling stress in healthy ways and building positive relationships. One main way to handle stress in a healthy way is through meditation. Meditation is one of the main aspects of handling stress because you're just breathing in and out in a healthy way. There's no, negative association when it comes to meditation. And then building positive relationships. This can be a student just building a positive relationship with a teacher, and that student will feel more supported in the school environment when it comes to bullying. Or when we talk about building positive relationships outside of school, this can be just a person building a positive relationship through social media, through their following. And this encourages and gives them the boost of confidence to post more and to share more about their lifestyle. So when we look at mental wellness, it's just increasing the confidence of an individual through healthy ways and building positive relationships. And we can usually associate ourselves with mental wellness as a protective shield. So mental wellness acts like an armor for us. If our mental wellness is good, and then we'll be good because we're building our inner strength, protecting ourselves from stress, negativity, emotional harm. There's a lot of ways to utilize mental wellness as a protection shield. And to get that is just mainly, as we were talking about, reducing your stress, building more positive relationships, finding something that you're passionate about, and just spreading more positivity and receiving that positivity as well. Because once you build that inner strength, you'll protect yourself from other negative connotations from bullying. So some bullies might target your self-image, but if you have a good mental wellness, you can just protect yourself from all that negativity, and it will also help you in the long run because it's protecting the emotional harm that an individual might receive. So when we look at this, there's a lot of different ways of utilizing this. So we got mental wellness as a protective shield through empathy. So understanding others' feelings help us act with kindness. So when we see somebody that's being a victim of bullying, a main thing that we should do or could do is sit with them, encourage them to speak up with their positivity and just spread that positivity to them, because you're checking in on somebody who's alone that probably might not have good standing emotional support pillars with them. And another way of empathy is just spreading kindness, is just checking in on a friend who looks upset. So this can be just me checking on my friend who's like dealing with a lot of issues, just checking in on them, seeing if they need any help with their issues, or if they look upset, just confirming if there's something that I could do as a person to help them. Because when we help others with the act of kindness, we're being positive, we're reinforcing our mental wellness strength. That armor that I was talking about, we're reinforcing that, and we're encouraging others to do it as well. So if I sit with somebody who's alone, that person who was alone will probably just do the same thing with another person. So he'll probably see somebody that's alone as well and just spread the kindness. So it'll be like a little cycle. And then self-awareness. Recognizing our own triggers and emotions helps us avoid lashing out. And this is really important because mental wellness is usually a main aspect of self-awareness. So if we know that we're not doing so good on the mental health aspect, we can advise others to help us avoid that lashing out or just crashing out of sadness. So the examples can include admitting when you made a mistake and learning from it. So if I made a mistake of lashing out on somebody that's a friend, I'll apologize then to that person and learn from my mistake, because I'm learning that was not the right thing to do, but the right thing to do is just to grow from it. And recognizing when you need a break to calm down. So if I'm stressed from school or just anything, activity related or personal related, a good way to be self-aware is just to recognizing when I'm about to lash out on somebody, or because if I recognize myself, it shows that I need a break to calm down before enacting on, immediate decisions. And those immediate decisions can affect me on the long run. I can affect my personal relationship with somebody. I can affect my emotional health through, through the breakage of the personal relationships. So it's always good to be self-aware because recognizing our own triggers and emotions can not only assist ourselves, but can assist others because we're not affecting, their situations that they might be dealing with. Then when we look at healthy coping skills, people with strong coping skills deal with frustrations without hurting others. And this is the main mental wellness aspect because we were talking about healthy coping skills. We were talking about meditation, how this can help us be more relaxed and make us do more tame decisions compared to doing negative coping skills. And that probably will make us not do, the correct decisions. And it will just do a everlasting cycle of hurt. So we probably hurt our personal relationship. We'll probably hurt our emotional health, hurt our opportunities of, repairing those relationships. So this is really good reason to associate yourself with healthy coping skills. Healthy coping skills mainly associates me with meditation, listening to music, or drawing to relax. And drawing to relax is just like sometimes I draw like little scribbles here and there because it makes me restart myself to focus on certain situations. And then a main healthy coping skills that a lot of people might do is just going for a walk, or watching or playing a sport to let out stress. Some individuals might use video games as a way to let out stress as well, because it's just the way that there's a lot of individuals that have different type of coping skills that will assist them in the long run. So if I'm in a certain negative situation, a quick way to disassociate from that negative situation is just to pop in some AirPods and listen to music, because that's a healthy way to deal with my frustration. And once I deal with my frustration, I won't lash out on others or just damage my personal relationships. And confidence. Confidence is a main key because feeling strong makes it easier to speak up or stay positive. So when you reciprocate that confidence, even though an individual might not have that confidence, it will make them, make it easier. That saying, fake it till you make it, it's really important because when a person is speaking up or staying positive, it will make you stay positive in the long run. So speaking up when you see bullying, that's, your confidence speaking up against the bullying that's happening. Some people, as we're talking about bystanders, might use that opportunity to stay quiet instead of speaking up. And then set boundaries if someone disrespects you. So if somebody in a friend group disagrees with something or just makes you mad, use that confidence of yourself to speak up about it. Speak up about the boundaries that's affecting you. Speak up about something that's bothering you. Because once you speak up, you're staying positive to yourself. You're staying positive to that personal relationship as well. Because boundaries help somebody to, know yourself more. And if you speak up about certain stuff, you won't be associated with the negative connotation of being a bystander. You're being associated now with the positive association of being an upstander, being somebody that speaks up against bullying. So confidence is the main key to our mental wellness because it helps us stay more positive. And then mental wellness also has a lot of protective factors. So we're going to talk about 3 protective factors such as emotional regulation, resilience, and self-esteem. So emotional regulation is basically just managing your emotions instead of being controlled by them. So as we were talking about back then, some people might not have that self-awareness aspect of knowing their emotions. So they might just allow their emotions to control them in certain situations. So this can be a student being frustrated in PE class due to him losing, and he just lets his anger controls him, and that can just damage personal relationships. It can damage himself, his reputation, and throughout the school. because now teachers will associate him being, a negative person. So it's always good to have that emotional regulation of just managing your emotions using those healthy coping skills, as we were talking about, going for a walk, listening to music, and just not be controlled by them, but we're controlling our emotions specifically to let us dictate a more positive path. And then when we're talking about resilience, resilience is the ability to bounce back from challenges or setbacks. So if a individual has is failing a test or, failed a driving test as well, the ability to learn from those experiences helps us bounce back, more positive, like, oh, I know this situation is going to happen. Let me use the things I learned previously. So when this connects to emotional health as well, if we bounce back from negative relationships, we are learning on how to deal with them, how to notice them, and how to avoid them quicker. So this helps us to bounce back from, any other further challenges or setbacks that might occur. And then self-esteem, believing you have value and purpose. This is really important because individuals that have low self-esteem might not have the ability to do the other protective factors. Individual with self-esteem might not have the resilience to bounce back from a certain challenge. They'll probably just accept defeat and believe that they don't have value or purpose throughout their lifetime. And a person with low self-esteem might not have the confidence to control their emotions. They believe that their emotions controlling them allows them to make the correct path, which is not true, because managing your emotions could, make you do certain bad decisions if you're being controlled by them. So positive self-esteem, if you believe in yourself and you believe that you have a purpose, it's more beneficial to you because you're being that person that can do those protective factors, can do the healthy coping mechanisms, can stand up against bullying, and just be more self-aware of yourself. So the discussion question will be like, what's one thing you would do that helps you feel mentally strong? Example, this can be like listening to music, journaling, talking to a friend, or exercising. I feel like one thing that helps me keep, mentally strong is just talking to a friend, having that support pillar right there if I'm dealing with a certain situation, because some friends might have dealt with certain situations similarly. So it's good to, have that feedback with them, and it helps me feel mentally strong because it's giving me the confidence of speaking up against my challenges that I'm experiencing, or it helps me be more self-aware of the mistakes that I did and potentially learn from them as well. And then we're going to talk about self-compassion and recovery. So this will be for victims, for aggressors, and self-compassion itself. So for victims, rebuild confidence and let go of shame. So if you're being bullied, it's important to rebuild that confidence of just being that person that you were with passion or just with that positive self-image. Because if you let go of the shame that's associated with it, like, wearing glasses, I'll use that example again. If you have that shame of wearing glasses, it's important to let go of that shame because that's your positive self-image. That's who you're expressing as yourself. And it will send a statement too to other people that, these messages of negative, these negative messages are not affecting you. So letting go of that shame will be more beneficial for the victim. And then for aggressors, take responsibility and learn empathy, because it's important to know that most of us probably did some mistake or, and during our lifetime. So it's important to take that responsibility and just learn from it. If I bully somebody, it's important that I'm self-aware of my decision and just learn to change myself from being a bully to being more kind to others, spreading that positivity to other people, and apologizing to that person I bullied, because it's an important thing to do to spread positivity, because if you don't, it will probably affect you on the long run mentally, and then, relationship wise. If somebody sees you as aggressor, they will probably avoid you. So it's important to spread that positivity and kindness towards others because it will come back to you in a positive way. More people, if they see you being an aggressor, they'll probably would like to be your friend because you're taking that responsibility. You're being more self-aware. You're having the confidence of changing yourself. So it's more, important to recover from that. And then self-compassion. Speak to yourself kindly instead of critically. So if I'm criticizing everything that I do, the way that I look, the way that I do certain stuff, it's important just to, change that critical, negative connotation that some people might experience for themselves, and just change it with kind words. So one of the kind words I would change for myself would be like changing how I look, like the glasses. So I always like the glasses example because it's really popular for me. Um, I love the way that I wear my glasses. That's one of the kind things I will say for myself. So, and just the way that I talk with others. So that'll be another kind thing that I say for myself. And spreading this positivity back to yourself will just make you feel more confident and just give you that self-compassion to yourself, because you're not bringing yourself down, you're bringing yourself up. And once you bring yourself up, you bring yourself up for other opportunities. So other opportunities of becoming somebody else's friend, other opportunities of just improving your mental health, your mental wellness, as we were talking about too, and just improving your confidence throughout life. So we're going to talk about certain strategies to break the cycle. So for individuals, mindfulness. So grounding exercise to manage stress, as we were talking about, the healthy coping mechanism skills, such as just reading a book, listening to music, hanging out with friends. That's a good way to manage your stress, And then building confidence. Focus on strength, accomplishments, and then self-kindness. So if I'm focusing on one of my strengths will be, I'm a good, positive person. I love being friends. I love spreading positivity within my friend group. One of the goals that I did could be like, graduating from college, and just, self-kindness. I love myself. I love the way that I look, the way that I act towards others. So building this confidence just make you feel more positive in the long run. And it can improve your emotional mental health, because you're building yourself up instead of waiting for others to build you up. And then seeking support. I mean, talking to a counselor or talking to a trusted person when you need help. It's important to have these support pillars around you, because if we have a person that's there that I trust, that person will always support me when I need help, when I need advice. Mainly one of my support pillars will be my parents. My parents can help me and provide me the advice that I need for certain situations, because they'll probably deal with it. Or just, talking to a school counselor, that can also help me as well, because I'm a university student. I still need the advice of certain academics. It's always important to just, have somebody there to help you in certain situations. And those people will always spread positivity to you, because it's a cycle, as we were talking about, the mental wellness cycle. You spread kindness, kindness will come back to you. So that's one of the good things. And then for schools and communities, when we look at schools and communities, we're talking about mental health education. It's important to teach individuals, such as students and adults, about emotional regulation and empathy in schools. As we were talking about emotional regulation, that just means controlling your emotions, making sure that it doesn't dictate like a negative path. Because if we're allowing the anger emotion dictate our path, will probably affect our personal relationship, our reputation. People might see us more negative instead of positive. And empathy, if we're more kind to others, there will be more of a community within the schools. So it's important for mental health education to be a big aspect for schools and communities. And then safe environment, creating safe spaces where students feel seen and respected. This can also mean where teachers feel respected too. So this is really important, because if a student or a teacher feels seen and respected in their environment, guess what? They'll come in more positive, seeing what the respect has done to them. So a student will come back and wants to feel more respected instead of disrespected. Also with the teachers, if the students are more respectful towards the teachers will come back with more positivity to get more of a respect. And peer mentoring. Older or trained peers supporting younger students reduces isolation. This is a main big one because when it comes to mentoring, this could not be associated only with students, but can be associated with anybody else. It can be like for the working or just in life in general. When an older person or a trained person or a peer, as we're referring to, supports somebody else, it reduces isolation because that person is there to support you throughout your journey. That person will be there to give you advice, little tips and tricks on how to navigate, properly with the negative things that might be going on in the environment, or just might be spreading more positivity into your life, which will encourage a safe environment. And it can also teach you about mental health education. So these three things are connected to each other because, a peer mentor can teach somebody else about mental health education, and that can also create a safe environment. And then vice versa, if we use the other one, so a safe environment can encourage peer mentoring, and then that can also encourage mental health education. So you see, there's like a cycle within this. So that's pretty good that if there's a focus on mental health education, safe environments, and peer mentoring. And then for parents and caregivers, it's important to teach kids to name and understand and express feeling. Emotional literacy is a big one because some kids might not have the emotional literacy to understand why they're feeling angry, sad, or just neutral. So it's understandable for kids to learn it slowly because some kids might not understand the full concept immediately. But teaching these kids to name and understand and express feelings will make them feel more confident and also recognize the signs of mood shifts and certain emotions. So when we talk about recognizing signs, this can mean changes in mood, appetite, or school performance can signal distress. So for parents and caregivers, it's important to recognize the signs and teach the signs to younger individuals, because if an individual knows that they're changing in mood, appetite, or school performance, they know that something is up, and they will just backtrack it to see what's the cause of that. What's the cause of the low school performance, or what causes the anger or the sudden outburst? It's important to just learn and teach emotional literacy and recognizing these signs. And open conversation, encourage honest conversation without judgment. Because if we judge others from speaking to us, such as like kids, they probably feel more closed to themselves and not just, will be more disencouraged to speak, because they would be like, oh, you're just, bullying me or just teasing me, and that's not right. So I'll just talk to somebody else. But it's important to be honest without judgment, because if we judge others, we'll probably not have that open conversation no more. So these things are really important for parents and caregivers, because once we teach kids about expressing their feelings, they can recognize the signs for themselves and be more honest in open conversations. And then when we look in the digital dimension of mental wellness, as we were talking about social media, there's social media impact. The social media impact could be like negative comments affecting an individual when posting. TikTok is a big one, where individuals from other countries are viewing your posts. A person from like across the world could say something negative, and that can have an impact on you. So it's always important to understand how social media works. So if you see a negative comment, it's always important to block that person, because you don't know that person to affect their personal life. But also understand that social media has a positive aspect as well. We were talking about the negative. That person from the other side of the country could send a positive message saying, hey, I like your post, or your friends spreading positivity throughout the post as well. So it's good to know the two sides of social media impact. And then healthy digital habits. One of the healthy digital habits, well, we could be talking about would be limiting usage of social media. Because when we have increased social media access, we'll probably have more, access to negative stuff. So we'll probably more encounter more negative comments for other people, and that would be negative. I feel like if I witness somebody being bullied and can't do nothing through social media, that would just affect my mental health because I mean my mental wellness because I'm not, speaking up. So it's always important to limit, the digital habits because it's also healthy, but you can also use that time for other stuff. So when you limit device usage, you can use that other time to do homework or just do your chores or just, read a book or do something fun. And digital empathy. As we were talking about, everything connects with kindness. So your mental wellness connects with kindness. So if you see positive comments supporting you, it will, it will improve your mental wellness, but it's always important to spread that positivity back to others. So if you see your friend or somebody random posting something, you don't have to comment something, but just support them. If you see that person in real life, just be like, "Hey, I love your post," or you can also send a comment as well. You can be like, "Hey, I love your post. It's really inspirational, and I would like to try that as well one time." So digital empathy is the same thing as regular empathy because you're spreading that kindness, and it can come back to you. So the discussion will be what's one habit I can change to protect my mental health. The example could be unfollowing negative accounts and not engaging in arguments. I feel like for me personally, unfollowing negative accounts is a big one. If I see accounts just making fun of people online, I feel like I don't want to be associated with that. So unfollowing them could make it more positive for me and, when using digital devices. So there's always the commitment statement when it comes to mental wellness, and one of the commitment statements that positive could be one way I'll support my wellness is blank blank blank, or one thing I'll do if I see bullying is blank blank blank, because small steps make lasting impact. So I can answer these commitment statements because one way I'll support my mental wellness is through spreading empathy, spreading that kindness towards others. So other people are more positive about their lifestyle. And one thing I'll do if I see bullying is use my confidence. That's one major, big thing. Because as we were talking about, confidence could help your mental wellness. It's the armor of your mental wellness to protect others and to protect yourself. Because if you have a good mental wellness state, you'll have the ability to, speak up and do certain stuff. If you have any questions, you can just direct them to my email. And thank you so much.
So thank you very much, Bryan, for this very important presentation on bullying, and thank you to everyone else for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this presentation and you want to keep up with us, NJ4S Union Hub, you can just follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, NJ4S Union. And if you have any questions about our programming, just email us at NJ4SUnion@preventionlinks.org. So thank you again for joining us and have a great rest of your day.